Alright, Victor.
Are you in a good seating position?
Yeah. Oh yeah, great. Yeah, he's a good.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you for coming tonight. I'm Lawrence Krauss, Director of the Origins Project here at ASU, and it's a pleasure to have yet another great debate, the last event of the academic year this year. We hope a highlight of this academic year for you all. And as usual, we have an incredibly distinguished group of people who will be here to entertain you and hopefully infuriate you, and if they don't, I'll try. And just to give you a sense of what's going to happen, for those who haven't come to our great debates before, each of the panelists will be making a presentation, and then after that we'll probably have an intermission, and we'll come back for a little, hopefully spirited discussion, and then we have microphones at either end of the auditorium for you to come up and ask questions, and that will be the second half of the evening, and then after that there's a book signing outside for a number of the people who have books. So. I thought I'd give a little introduction about xenophobia. One of the great things about xenophobia is that many people who suffer from it don't know what it means. So, so we're safe talking about it right now. But the subtitle of this evening's event is "Why Do We Fear Others?" And in some sense, that's the basis of xenophobia. And it's clear there's a biological basis. One of the things I should make clear also is that this great debate, as often happens, is associated with a workshop which the Origins Project is sponsoring. And it involves scientists from a wide variety of fields, from neuroscience, psychology, anthropology, and even a few physicists as well. And talking about the question of both the biological basis of xenophobia, right through the animal kingdom, and then discussing the question of the issue of that in humans, and not only where it might come from, but what we might do about it. Is xenophobia evolutionarily maladaptive? Now, the first thing I have up here, if you watch this it's clear that biological systems need to be able to distinguish foreign objects. And this is it's really kind of amazing to look at this because it looks like it has intentionality. It's actually a white blood cell, which doesn't have eyes or ears, but it's following a little bacterium around. And it can clearly detect a foreign substance in the body, and it will actually catch the little critter and eat it in a moment. And when I look at it, it's really kind of amazing to think that there's no eyes or ears or that's not an animal, that's just a white blood cell. Is that going? Is it? Okay, great. We're already having our first problem. But that's not xenophobia, because that's distinguishing foreign objects. But xenophobia is really more a concern about us versus them in the same species. And this is clearly very important for biological systems to be able to determine foreign objects. But it's also important for biological systems to be able to determine foreign objects among their own species. Now, it occurs in a variety of ways. This is another example, by the way, of distinguishing species, and some of the reasons why it's important to distinguish foreign objects is as a competition for resources. So here you could see birds of one species actually stealing the food from birds of another species. But competition for resources within a species is really the biological basis of xenophobia. And it occurs throughout the animal kingdom, and since I spent a lot of time in Australia, I had to have 2 boxing kangaroos. There's lots of reasons for competition, for food and for mates. And one of the reasons we've been studying this particular subject here is that we have one of the world's experts in social insects here, Bert Holdobler, who gave a lecture last night that some of you attended. And it's clear that this issue of being able to distinguish in-groups and out-groups goes back at least as far as social insects like ants. And here's a remarkable display of a tournament for honeypot ants, which I borrowed from Bert. And what you'll notice here is this is an ant group, and they're members of a specific colony, and then there are foreign members, and here they are facing off in a tournament. They're not killing each other, but you can see how they're picking up their hind parts, and they're going and they're basically sizing each other up. They're sizing each other up because they need to know whether there's enough of another colony that they should do a raid on that other colony and attack it and take their resources, or whether they should themselves be afraid and close up their colony. But that posturing back and forth starts out in ants, but it clearly goes in many different species. And in fact, it's interesting that here you see rhesus monkeys. In fact, a video that was shown at our meeting today, and you can see the same kind of posturing between in and out groups. There's no fighting going on. There's sizing up and potentially threatening an opponent. But so this is kind of a mild form of xenophobia. It's assessing a possible threat from another group. But what happens in the animal kingdom, of course, is it can become much less mild. And I want to show you some slides that are disturbing. I'm going to warn you in advance. And a film. These are chimpanzees. And you're going to see that chimpanzees, of course, are very violent. And here's a group of chimpanzees attacking an outside, rather defenseless chimpanzee. And it's not mild at all. In fact, they're happy to kill each other. And what you also see, which seems to be another characteristic which we talked about today, which was news to me, is that generally groups attack each other, and particularly a group will attack when it feels safe, namely when it outnumbers its opponent. And here's a lone chimpanzee who just got attacked and beaten and is probably about to die because he was alone and there was a large group that attacked him, and he's not long for this world. I'm sorry that's disturbing, but that's nature. Now, I tried to think of the closest, so these are precursors to...
Good control, Victor. Good explanation of posturing and what that looks like.